Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel, wishing you a happy early start to Slice Thursday morning over here, of which it's my first day drinking caffeine in the last week, and it feels good, man. It feels real good. Anyways, a few things we speak about today in the short-term time frames, more or less follow-up of the last 48 hours thread of analysis, and then of course a revisiting of the higher-term time frame as well. Other than that, wanted to point out over here on the Krown trading application, one of the lesser known about features is actually the top influencer in all of these actual top charts right here that my cursor is currently panning over. Greg is the top influencer of the day, one of the most amazing accounts on Twitter. Anyways, let's just jump right into it right now. I want to first start it off with a bit of a recap of the last 48 hours. We were looking at, I believe this was coming in from like Tuesday. When was this? Yeah, this was Tuesday, or at least for me, it was Tuesday. A break of the 19,450-ish region as a good early warning signal for likely continuation to the downside in the short-term timeframes. Again, this is only relevant for the short-term timeframes as of right now. We'll get to the higher-term timeframes a little bit later. And that's kind of where we're at today as Bitcoin based off on that $19,000 region. Basically, the ranges as they are is the same as before on the short-term time frame. It's going to be 19,000 bucks to the downside, represented by the 786 right here, and then also about 19,800 to the upside, represented by the 618 right here. Anyways, within the context of the short-term time frame ranges, it should be known that we are looking at extreme lows on literally pretty much every time frame now. So it's not just the medium and higher term time frames, it's also the lower term time frames as well. So start off with the 6 hour here. Yes, we do see extreme lows on 6 hour BBWP. 4 hour time frame also, I would say extreme lows as well, although probably going to contract a little bit in the short term. And the 3 hour also going to be at extreme lows, and you can go onwards and forwards with that. I won't bore you with the details. Anyways, within the context of extremely low volatility, we do expect expansion on the short term time frames, probably later today around the time that US market opens. But again, because they are just lower term timeframes, we're likely looking at range moves here. And of course, when we go back to the actual range analysis, if Bitcoin does break below about 19,000 bucks, and by the way, I'm not using like super specific numbers right here. But if you do see a break below there on a closing basis, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to very likely fill out this space somewhere right around here. How low can that go? 18,500. How high could it go? Like 18,750. We're talking about tight margins. We're talking about tight ranges. And that's why, personally speaking, I'm not too motivated by the short term as of right now. All of the actions on the higher term timeframes or lack of action, I should say, but that's where the real opportunity is likely coming in to the end of October. And that, yeah, it does kind of imply that still kind of looking for more boringness actually in the near term. Anyways, with that in mind, while we're on the lower term timeframes here, it should be known that hourly is printing, like this is how fucking bored I am, but hourly is printing hidden bearish divergence on this current high or on this current potential local high, confirmed below 19,100 or so on a closing basis. And then, yeah, is that going to be the needle that pushes the haystack or the straw that pushes the horses back or whatever the fuck to get Bitcoin down a little bit more to those prior range lows region? Perhaps yes. Again, really kind of grasping for straws right now. But I did want to reference now the stochastic momentum on the short-term time frame. So starting off with the 6 hour right here, or let's even start off with the 12 hour. 12 hour time frame is going to be freshly turning down on CME. And again, all of this analysis has been on CME thus far, as long as Bitcoin's below 19,320. 6 hour time frame, obviously already going to be nosediving as we identified yesterday at 19,275 is the current momentum pivot, which is about $200 away from current price action. 4 hour time frame is also going to be down as long as Bitcoin's below about if Bitcoin does close below about 19,000 bucks. That is with actually volatility ticking up right here on the volatility of stochastic momentum, which I thought was interesting. And then if we go down to the 3 hour and the hourly, we'll also notice that the 3 hour also probably going to pop up here above 19,030 on a closing basis, which really not that far away from current price action. And then hourly is pivoted at about 19,000 bucks as well. So we do see some bifurcation here, but we can also see that momentum continues to remain to the downside on all of the lower term timeframes if Bitcoin does close below about 19,000 bucks. Until then, probably looking at a little bit more of this action right here. Anyways, let's see. So I did forget to talk about what to expect if Bitcoin does break above the top side of the range. That's going to be the 19,800 number or so right here. I'd be looking for another return back around the early October highs. I think that's a little bit less likely right now, but that's what I'd be looking for. And there'd be an early warning flag kind of thrown towards a potential move like that being, relevant, I suppose, above the same short-term time frame breakdown point that we hit earlier this week, the trap area, if you will, at 19,450 or so. Again, real low time frame bullshit right here. So not all of that super interesting, at least in my humble opinion. Anyways, let's now get into what I think is a little bit more interesting and also new as well. So first things first, let's go back on over here. Let's go over here, and the daily does have a drive of hidden bearish evidence. Now it is a phantom drive, but it is coming out the neutral zone as well. And yeah, this is, well, another sign of short-term, medium-term weakness in this case, especially alongside extreme lows on daily BBWP. It's not just on the daily, it's also on the 2-day, it's also on the 5-day, it's also on the weekly here. So all of the higher term timeframes, basically all timeframes are in concert with each other now. It's not just the higher term timeframes, it's also the low and medium term timeframes as well. So in this case, as long as Bitcoin is essentially below that last lower high, risk does still remain to the downside in the short term, but I would still very much refrain from calling a major macro breakdown in this case. It's got to be the same criteria as before. I know I keep on repeating this stuff, but in my experience, it's really, really helped me to be a little more on the conservative side when looking at things like this. Again, referencing 2018, you might be on the right direction ultimately, but it could take a long time to actually get there. And that needs to be with the daily closure below the range lows at 18,100 or a tick below last week's low. Let me just double check. Yeah, last week's low on CME specifically, which is like 17,800-ish. Yes, somewhere around there, if memory serves me correctly. Anyways, are we about to see the end of the old LARP lines here? Of course. I mean, at the end of the day, these are not meant to be a one-to-one representation, just for funsies, if you will. But I think that this one's seen better days at this point. I think that this one's probably not going to pop back up from there. But hey, I can very much be wrong on that. Again, early warnings above 19,450, full on confirmation above 19,800 or so. All right, sweet. So back onto the higher term timeframes. Should also denote that it's not just the daily printing hidden bearish divergence right here, but also the 2-day on CME did confirm hidden bearish divergence. Now this was actually like a couple weeks ago, but it is actually still active as long as Bitcoin's below that last lower high, or at least the last spike high that we did see from last week. It was actually last Thursday, just about a week ago. So again, that is still, I suppose, somewhat relevant here, especially as the 2-day time frame at Joule gets a bit of downside curvature. Not a death sentence, not a tremendously concerning signal just yet. But this is where I now want to interrelate the higher term time frame analysis into the lower term time frame analysis and check back on over here. It's everyone's favorite fucking chart now, isn't it? It's the daily for CME. Volatility versus momentum is the name of the game. And what do we have? Well, we have our volatility component right here. We are seeing some early signals of expansion, but not full on confirmation just yet. Full on confirmation would be with the daily BBWP, again representing volatility, above the moving average, both having a positive slope, and then, very important, above the critical zone right here at 10 percentile. Anyways, the signal is, historically speaking, when we do see expansion from these extreme lows above that 10 percentile marker, which has happened many times in the full history of CME, there has been an average move of about 24.25% done over the course of about 2.5 weeks. Stochastic also has been correct in getting the direction of the volatility expansion 83.33% of the time, which is pretty fucking good, but still not relevant until we do see official expansion. So in this case, this is still, neither here nor there because we do not have confirmations on this, on the volatility expansion. But if you do want to reference the daily pivot for stochastic momentum as of right now, it is currently to the upside, will turn back onto the downside with a closure on CME specifically below 19,125 or so. Below there, then yes, turns back onto the downside. Volatility again, once it gets low, this low for this long, it is set to expand. It's just the nature of things, just mathematics actually at the end of the day. And well, if we were to see a closure below that level, 19,125 on CME, well, the probabilities once again shift massively in favor of the downside. Not certainties, but probabilities. Again, we're talking about 83.33%. Pretty fucking high, but again, it's not the same thing as 100%. So if that were to happen, then we can start to apply the average, the averages here, or the first standard deviation, kind of get an idea of what the areas of interest are for this potential move. And I'll just take the average move for right now because it's still probably a little bit further away from getting confirmed. But, to the upside, probably looking somewhere around 23.5 to 24,000 bucks. To the downside, probably looking, somewhere around 15-ish, let's say. And what is going on over here? Ah, jeez. Morning, Krown. I know you're not a shitcoin fan, but this chart is powerful. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Fair enough. Anyways, yes. Okay, so where was I before? I just interrupted myself. Yeah, so looking at the averages, average moves, to the downside. Sorry, let me just make sure I actually do that right, because it's kind of hard to get it from this far away. Okay, 24% puts you, in like the 15s, mid 15s or so would kind of be an area of interest. So of course, there's going to be stops along the way, just like to the upside as well. And until we get actual resolution on this, it's neither here nor there. But it should be known that the 2-day time frame is also going to be closing tonight. Similar setup. Although I won't go over the full chart. It's the same one as yesterday, but it will actually cross the downside if Bitcoin closes below almost the same pivot as the daily, which is 19,170, which I thought was rather interesting here too. So those, those low $19,000 numbers continue to pop on up, risk below basically 19,000 bucks. And hopium remains, I suppose, alive as long as it remains above on a closing basis. But I think that's a good place to be leaving off on a video like this. I forgot to show Bybit. Bybit's got their promotional going on. I've got an Instagram where I post a lot of stuff as well, some good, some bad. You be the judge of that. There is all of the links in the description below as usual. You already know. And I think that's a good place for me to say my goodbyes. Much love, take care, and see you hopefully soon.